Hello Internet peoples, welcome to Paint to Life, the YouTube channel where we take tiny plastic miniatures, throw some acrylic paint onto them, and breathe life into them with storytelling so that you might use them at home in your own campaigns, paint along with them as part of your hobby, or just kill some time on the toilet. I'm Atank, let's get painting. Alright, let's get started. Welcome to episode 4 of Paint to Life. Last week, if you tune in, we painted a green dragon, the first of the chromatic dragons. Today, we're going to keep that theme going with a gold dragon, the first of the metallic types of dragons. Now, metallic dragons in Dungeons & Dragons are typically good aligned. In fact, I think they're always good aligned. Well, mine are anyways. The gold dragon in particular is like the alpha of all the metallic dragons. If you've ever encountered a metallic dragon playing D&D, they've either been helping you behind the scenes or being little tricksters. We're going to explore them, but today's the gold dragon, and she's a beaut. Now, gold dragons are the most wise of the metallic dragons. They hate foul play and they love to fight evil. In fact, they go on great quests to find and destroy evil. They enjoy practicing magic. Most of them have innate spellcasting abilities, but they also train themselves. A lot of them are wizards, and they submit themselves to formal magical studies in places around the world. Now, they're very good at polymorphing, which means they can take the shape of other animals and or humans. They typically prefer polymorph, and they can retain all of their draconic abilities while polymorphed. They like it just to keep a low profile. They don't like to interact with other dragons very much, and they like to kind of keep low on the radar of humans as well. And sometimes they use their polymorph forms to bait evil creatures out into attacking them, just to get their asses royally whipped. Now, gold dragons are recognizable by their fan, or their frill. What is it called? Frill? Instantly recognizable by their frill, which goes from the back of their neck all the way to their tail in one long, continuous kite. And also their whiskers. They've got little teeny whiskers on their face, which, I don't know, make them look very oriental, I suppose, like a Chinese kind of dragon. And I think that was the inspiration for the dragon when they first came out. Now, the gold dragon will be very secluded. They'll keep to himself. They might have a lair that might be guarded by good aligned creatures such as cloud giants, storm giants, or other types of powerfully, naturally good creatures. What do they eat? Well, they can eat anything, really. They like to hunt down evil creatures and eat them, but they'll also eat things like gems and pearls. They're like their favorites. But that's a gold dragon in general. What about our gold dragon? Who are we painting today? In the country of Dambrath, far to the southeast in Faerun, lived a wizard named Memnon with his wife and 3 sons. Now, Memnon had been ostracized from Dambrath society for a role he played. He was part of a party that pretty much saved the entire world. Unfortunately, there was a lot of collateral damage, and it was mostly caused at Memnon's hands, so even though everyone was happy with the party for saving the world and all, Memnon kind of got a bad rap, especially because 1, he didn't die, and 2, he stuck around. So he kind of got ostracized to his tower, and he was happy with that. Now, one night, Memnon and his wife were visited by a couple in the middle of the night. They get a knock at the door. So Memnon goes, check it out. This couple comes, and they implore Memnon. They've heard about his exploits. They know he's kind of a pariah, but they also know he's got a good heart. And they ask him a favor. They say, will you raise our daughter as your own because we are being hunted? But we're okay with that. We just don't want anything to befall her. Well, Memnon always wanted a daughter, and he accepts. He takes the baby. The parents leave, and they named her Pandora. Pandora was the name of one of Memnon's best friends who had sacrificed herself during their quest all those many years ago. So, Pandora started to grow up. She trained in the art of wizardry from her father and her brothers, in the art of swordplay. And as a young girl, she would run around their tower and have all kinds of fun, and all was good. She became quick study with magic. Memnon taught her everything he knew, and by the age of 9, she wanted more. So Memnon offered her an opportunity to go study at the dwarven citadel called Undifferfarn to the far east. Another one of his friends from the old days who had survived the cataclysm named Theldrin lived there, and he was the ruler of the dwarves. So Memnon arranged for Pandora to visit Theldrin and live there almost like a ward to learn a little bit more about culture, learn about the dwarves, and further her magical study deep in the earth with some of the dwarven wizards. Now, Dambrath as a country was still a little bit of a dangerous place. I mean, the fallout of the big conflict was that a lot of lycans, which are like werewolves, rose up and took hold of society. They were now the ruling class. And while the most part it was peaceful, there were still some underlying areas that weren't so nice. But Pandora was completely safe in Memnon's tower, and as well as in Indifferfarn with Theldrin. Now 12, Pandora was growing up into a young woman. She had beautiful golden hair, beautiful personality, and everyone that she talked with loved her. She was always bestowed gifts. She was a natural spellcaster. She loved both men, dwarves, and lycans equally. She had no prejudice in her whatsoever, and everyone that would be around Pandora was just genuinely in a good mood and felt good about themselves, and that was a good thing. As a young lady, she traveled to the capital of Dambrath, which was called the city of Cthir, where she successfully lobbied the people in power there to overturn the conviction on her father, give him a pardon, and he was actually made a lord. Pandora loved her life. When she would dream of herself flying high above the skies of Dambrath, looking down over her friends and all of the creatures that lived there. Sometimes she would even wake outside of the tower, outside of Indifferfarn, probably attributed to her sleepwalking. But that aside, everything was great. Now on her 14th birthday, she started to get a little bit super confident. Armed nothing with more than her spell book, she went up that river for a good hour by herself and emerged in a place where there was a pool. And at the pool, drinking was a family of Pegasus peas, the horses with wings. One of the horses came over to her and gave her a little sniff and completely broke itself to her. It allowed her to mount up on top, and she flew back to her tower to show the Pegasus to Memnon, only to find out later that her namesake Pandora also had a Pegasus in life. Now 16, full of confidence and magical energies, she took 2 of her brothers and some friends from Indifferfarn, and they actually went on a little adventure. North of Cthir, there were the Hills of the Dead Kings, and there were some hill giants that were living there and getting a little too close to some farming communities, and the party successfully routed the hill giants, forced them all off the lands far into the mountains. Now Pandora had just turned 20, and one night there was this terrible storm when there was this loud knock at the tower door. Memnon's heart right into his throat. He thought this was Pandora's parents coming to reclaim her. To see the look on his face then when the visitor was revealed to be none other than his friend Vex, a drow elf, and a member of the party from all those years ago. Now drow, also known as dark elves, are pretty evil, and typically they stay underground. Most people above ground shun them. But this one in particular, Vex, he had actually helped save the world. But in the 11th hour of the mission, he apparently abandoned them on a flying airship with his people. Well, a lot of people thought that Vex had turned coat on his friends. Memnon never did. He always believed that Vex was a good heart, and he was just doing what he needed to do to survive in the instance. This reunion, though, was not a happy one, as Vex stumbled in, gravely wounded. He grasped Memnon and warned him of an impending attack against Indifferfarn. He looked at Memnon and said, "The drow and the Crinti, which are half-drow, were coming to take back the citadel for themselves." Memnon thought on this and sent magical warnings to Theldrin, warning him of the impending attack. Their reunion was short-lived, however, as Vex passed away of his injuries not long after arriving. Memnon ordered his mercenaries to equip themselves and go to defend the dwarven citadel. Unfortunately, it was a trap. Vex had ingested a toxin to suspend his life essence so that it would appear that he was dead, and after Memnon ordered the majority of his troops away from the tower, Vex snuck to the back and let his unit of drow soldiers into the tower, where they took over. Vex and his soldiers captured Memnon, his wife, his 3 sons, and Pandora, and then proceeded to loot the tower full of magic arms and artifacts that Memnon had been collecting over the years. Whilst this was happening, King Theldrin of the Dwarves was preparing for his defense against the incoming attack from the drow. Now, one thing not everyone knows about Indifferfarn is that deep in the dungeon level there's this massive door which connects it to a big road that leads through the Underdark. So King Theldrin and his dwarves prepared to defend against the oncoming attack, and it came 3 days later at those gates. However, there was a surprise, as Vex, who was in the vanguard of the attack, had Memnon as a hostage. He ordered the dwarves to stand down, lower their arms, open the door, and let them in, and no blood need be spilled today. They would be freed to go, Memnon and his family included. Now, No one in their right mind would trust a drow, especially this double-crosser like Vex. However, Deldrin would not risk his friend's life, so he did it. He ordered his men to stand down. They opened the doors and lined up and let their drow conquerors in. Surprisingly true to his word, Vex had planned to let Memnon and his wife live. However, he wanted to make an example. He wanted the people of Dambrath to know that these drow and Crinti were here to stay and that they had reclaimed their home and they weren't going to be pushed around so easily. So he picked one of Memnon's sons and said that this child would die today as a reminder of what happened here. Completely shocked and terrified, nobody could do anything but watch, except Pandora. Pandora called out a halt. "Wait!" She said, "Take me instead. He is my brother, this is my adopted family, but they have raised me and treated like kin from the day I was born. I love them with all my heart, and I would gladly sacrifice myself in lieu of my brother." Memnon was torn. He loved Pandora, but this was his own flesh and blood we're talking about. Vex couldn't be more elated. I mean, this was Pandora. He'd heard about her. She was the golden girl of the entire Dambrathian society. I mean, everyone loved her. He could take her and he could use her and make a statement that would resonate, so he quickly accepted the offer. Pandora bravely stepped forward in front of all of the people there that day and waited her fate. Vex pulled a dagger from his robe and struck her in the chest with it. There was a collective gasp when he removed the blade and there was no blood on it. Suddenly, a realization came over Pandora that she had never yet had in her young life. There was an explosion of radiant golden energy that lit the chamber, blinding everyone for a split second, especially the drow, which have an aversion to bright lights, being that they're subterranean creatures. When everyone's eyesight returned, they were amazed to see an 18-foot long, 15-foot tall gold dragon standing before them. Pandora was a gold dragon. The dwarves instantly picked up their weapons as their enemies were still grasping at their eyes and charged. Vex, waving his curved dagger in a pitiful attempt to defend himself, was pinned down under Pandora's large golden talon and lifted up in front of her face. Memnon couldn't believe his eyes. He'd never seen something so magnificent. What do you think? What do you think Pandora did to Vex? No, she didn't. She captured him. She captured him alive. You see, Pandora recognized that the cycle of violence would never end until someone ended it. And now Vex remains in his small, windowless cell, only once in a while hearing the roar of Pandora the Golden flying over her country of Dambrath. The Golden Age had begun. So that's Pandora. I hope you liked today's episode. I had a lot of fun with it. Here she is. For the shelf. Pandora and her human form. Once again, if you do like Paint to Life, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to develop a viewer base out of the positive feedback that I've heard. I'm quite impressed and I'm very happy that everyone's enjoying it. So I release videos every Saturday where we kind of keep the format going. I'm getting the hang of it. Please support your local gaming stores. I know a lot of them are closed right now with the COVID-19, but a lot of them are doing online sales with deliveries. I know the Toy Trove in St. Catharines at toytrove.com is. You can go on there and get some stuff delivered right to your door. So pick up a mini, pick up a painting kit, and get started at it. Your first one will be the hardest and the most fun, and you will only ever get better, I promise you. If you're watching Paint to Life to paint your own miniatures as inspiration and you want to just catch the painting with commentary, there's a link down below in the description where you can just watch that video with my little tips and tricks overlaid on top, so go ahead and give that a check out. I'm Atank. Thanks for stopping by with us tonight. I hope everyone in your family is safe and that you're washing your hands. We'll catch you next week. Thanks.